Mark Wilson, Avila University, defensive coordinator.
Okay, how you doing today, Coach?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you give me a brief summary of your college football career?
Yeah, I actually walked on at the University of Kentucky. That was in fall of 1994. Kept waiting to get cut through a series of tryouts. Never did. Redshirted my freshman year. Never even saw the field. Sat in the stands for the first year. Sophomore year, going into spring, I was on the depth chart, actually. From that point, that fall, I dressed, the very first game I ever dressed for was at Louisiana State University, LSU, night game, moderately intimidating. 2 weeks later, I played against University of Georgia. One of our players had asked to take a break on kickoff, went on the field, made a play, got yelled at, went on the field again, made a play, got yelled at, and from then on I started seeing the field. Earned a scholarship after that season. So my last 2 years I was a scholarship player in the SEC. Finished up as a special teams captain my last 2 years. Saw the field about 20, 25 total snaps a game my last 2 years.
Okay. Tell me about yourself outside of being a coach. Like, what do you like to do non-coach related?
I've got 3 stepkids and a wife. Amy, and then in order is Nick, Blake, and Abby. We've got 2 dogs, and I think I like the dogs more than the kids, but I'm not sure. It's close. We spend a lot of time outside. I fish quite a bit. I hike. My wife hikes with me. The kids will hike some. We always take the dogs. We do camp a little bit. And then I really enjoy gardening. I've got a vegetable garden, got floral gardens. We enjoy that. Kind of cheap and easy to do, and it takes time and it allows me to get outside. Other than that, if I get a chance to fish and we don't have family stuff, I go fish.
Okay. What made you want to become a coach?
I was actually on track to go into med school. My plan was to become an orthopedic surgeon. That was my plan from 8th grade on. Once I started playing football and was a part of it, I had 2 very influential coaches. Rob Oviatt was our strength coach at the time, and he really mentored me and spent more time with me probably than I deserved as a walk-on player, but he treated me just like any other player and then some. And I had a gentleman by the name of David McMillan, who was our department head, and as I was working through, he said, hey, you really have a knack for some of what you're doing from the physical standpoint. So getting into my junior year, just about ready to truly start taking the medical classes, my defensive back coach at the time, who coaches at Rice University now, I had 1 game that I missed because I was fighting the flu. So he put me up in the box to help because I had a pretty good knowledge of the game. And after that, he said, you're going to be a coach. So I kind of waited a little bit. And I thought, I don't want to teach. I don't want to coach, you know. So the senior year, we had a JV team that we added for the first time. And they asked 4 of us as players to help with that JV team. And I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked schematically, teaching-wise, comprehension, the cognitive aspect of it. I was absolutely hooked, and I've been coaching in some way, shape, or form ever since.
Okay, great. How do you think the game of football has changed on a college level compared to when you played?
I think the speed is different. I think the multiple formations aspect, you're seeing much more personnel groupings. The actual scheme itself hasn't. Power's power. It doesn't matter if it's out of 10 personnel, 20 personnel, whether you're under center or gun. It affects it a little, but I think the amount of personnel groupings, the amount of formations that a typical team runs. Normally, you would see a typical team would have 4 or 5 formations per game total, and they were who they were. Now you're seeing that same team trot out 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 formations in a game, which is, it's changed it for a fan and it's changed it from a coach pretty significantly in terms of what all they're seeing. The second aspect, really and truly, is the amount of passing that's out there. It has increased. Some of the rules have allowed that to happen. But then you add in the amount of states that are doing spring ball, the amount of states and the talent that is growing through 7-on-7 leagues, youth football, the heads-up football initiatives that are getting more youth kids to partake. So these kids are getting better, and as their talent rises, they're allowed to do more as they go. So you're seeing a better quality product, but it's also more in depth.
Okay. How do you balance your job as a full-time coach and a family man?
I say thank you to my wife often. Realistically, it's tough. One of the things I really enjoy is spending time with her. I really enjoy spending time with the kids. So you get them to come up and be involved somewhat. We do lunches together a couple times a week when she can, based on her job. The other aspect is, and it's very difficult, and especially the way I am, I'm not a perfectionist because I've never gotten there, but I really want everything I do to be as crisp as possible. None of us are ever going to attain that, but I struggle with that. I think it's partly because I'm short, partly because I was a walk-on, partly of how I'm built internally. So when I go home, it has to be a intentional, conscious effort. Okay? It's not football time anymore. So there are days that I will spend more time here early, more time here late, just to make sure my work is done. If we've got film to review, I am doing that here. I don't do that at home, because if I'm not there, it's not fair to them. One of the things, we've done a small group Bible study over the years, and one of the things we spent time on, as you're aware of, was how to be a man. And one of the concepts on historically how men have changed, way back in the day, kids were home with their dads because their dads were home working. They owned a shop, they farmed, they did whatever. Now, as most fathers, as the Industrial Revolution came, they're out of the house. So when you come home, it's tougher to be present. So you have to be intentional. You have to be very cognizant about it to make sure that when you're home, you're home. So I make a strong effort to do that. And if you ask Amy, she'll tell you I don't always succeed. But I try. At least I don't turn the film on. I might be thinking about it, but it's not on.
Yeah, understood. Okay, last question. What was your ultimate goal when you became a coach?
I don't know if I had an ultimate goal. My very first year of coaching, I was at a high school level. In the fall, and then in the spring, I was at the arena level. And I think we all want to win. I've wanted to be a head coach, and I have been a head coach. It's enjoyable to run what you want to run, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. There is a significant more on your plate. There is a greater weight on you, even just at home, even on a Sunday afternoon, because everything falls under your umbrella. I think at this point in time, my overall goal, I want to find a place. I've had success being at 5 different places now where I've gone into and we've changed the culture, and we've gone from consistently negative to consistently positive. And what's funny is my dad was in retail for a long time as a store manager. His job, they moved him store to store to store to fix the stores. Didn't dawn on me until about 5 years ago. I'm doing the same thing he's doing. Yeah. So for me, I'd like to find a place that I can do that at, but then stay at for significant amount of time, 10, 15 years, and make that program my program, that where the legacy of the program is there. But again, part of the challenge is winning. Part of the challenge is seeing kids do well. You know, there are kids that I will distinctly remember that were not good ball players, but watching them graduate, watching them get married, watching them turn from a goober into a fine, upstanding man, not just a young man. We all want to win, but when, you know, most legacies skip a generation, when the grandkids look at it and they go, okay, historically, wow, look what he did. Look at how many people that still come to see him when he's not coaching anymore, that still call for his advice. Getting to that point, I think, is really the goal. Because you could win. We could do all kinds of stuff here that we shouldn't do, and suddenly have a program that's winning, and the day you're out the door, do people remember or not? But if you do it the right way, having people consistently want to reach out for you for guidance, mentorship, support, motivation, I think that really becomes the ultimate goal.
Okay. That'll be all today, Coach. Thank you.